Hey, it's Bret Gregory. So excited to have you here today. We've got such a great program for you. I can't even believe, you're not even going to believe all the value that you're going to get today. And if you're just joining us, please do me a favor. Go to the questions box right now and tell us what city and country you're tuning in from. So I'll give a shout out to, hey, Michael from Chicago. Debbie is from Phoenix. Vicky's from Kalamazoo. Karen from Canada. We got Angelina from Oahu. Kathleen, Michael, Rashawn, Claudia. Everybody who is in the house, so glad to have you here. And you can see we've just got a new chat. Bill Barron is in the house, and he's actually the guy, the man that I want to introduce you to that I am super excited about. This is going to be a lot of fun today. So for those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting my good friend, Bill Barron, I'm really excited for our time together today because he's a really good friend, a really special guest, and he's got a vital topic for all of us coaches, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, practitioners, and the topic that we're going to be talking about today is transforming objections. You know, those client objections, those customers' objections that you get when you're on the phone and you're trying to convert a enroll somebody, enroll that new high-paying client, somebody that you're going to make a real difference in their life, somebody that you're really going to help. But with transforming objections, you're going to learn how to confidently handle the top 5 reasons that clients say no. And I mean, I just love the sound of that. So here's what I want to say about Bill Barron, a good friend of mine, and he is a rare breed of guys who's heart-based spiritual. He's heart-based and spiritual, and also has a really precise and effective business know-how. Every single time I talk with Bill, I learn something that I can pretty much immediately implement, something that is really practical and incredibly valuable. And he's really one of the top business coaches in the nation. And his purpose is to help conscious business owners make money with your gifts by enrolling all the clients you want so that you can make a really big difference in the world. And I mean, what else could I say? I mean, he's got $1 million business, multi-million-dollar business, and he strives to live a fun-filled life. And his business has really taken off in the last 3 or 4 years. I've had the pleasure of watching this closely, getting to know him well. In fact, every single program that he offers completely sells out. And so without further ado, I want to introduce my good friend, Bill Barron, and say welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
Well, it's an incredible pleasure for me, and anytime I get an opportunity to be in a room, whether it's a virtual room like this, Bret, or it's an actual room where we get to talk, brainstorm, figure things out, it's always a pleasure for me. And for you to open up this avenue to me is something that I'm grateful for.
Great, and I'll give a shout out to a few others who have just joined us. Remember, if you're just coming on, just go to the questions box and type in what city and country you're tuning in from. Give a little shout out to Gabrielle. We've got Jay in Virginia, Sandy, Brenda, Carol, Lawrence, Claudia, Lee, Kathleen. So great to have all of you here today. And I'd also love to hear from you right now. What is your #1 challenge that you have enrolling those high-paying clients? So having those conversations, the sales conversation, the enrollment conversation, what is your big challenge that you have in those sales conversations and enrolling those high-paying clients? Go ahead and put the answer in your questions box. And let's hear a little bit from Bill about what you're going to teach us today.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's really important for us to sort of understand that our tribe, like the people that really want to make a difference, we generally don't like to do sales, and we generally don't like to do a lot of marketing.
That is true.
It is true. It's that's not necessarily the way that I think about things, because I'm past the point of not liking it. I've gotten to the point where I actually love it because I feel like I can make a bigger difference with my marketing. I can make a bigger difference with my enrollment than I can with anything else that I ever do in my life. But the reality is still the same. Most people don't like sales. Most people don't like marketing. Right?
Sure.
So when we get good at enrollment, and what I mean by that is when a high percentage of potential clients that you talk to wind up being clients, guess what happens? You have to do a lot less marketing to get clients.
Yeah, and it gets to be more fun.
And well, yeah, we certainly like the yes a lot more than no. Even though in my where I teach all this stuff, one of the first things that I ask people to do is to learn to be absolutely okay with a no. And the way that I ask people to do that is to be sold to, like go into situations where somebody's selling to you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're trying to sell something to me, and I can be looking at you and saying, Bret, thank you. I've heard what you just said, but it's really not a no. It's a no for me right now. Maybe some other time.
Bill,
And
wait, I have a ShamWow for you. You don't want
ShamWow.
a ShamWow. You don't want my ShamWow?
I'll take a ShamWow. Yeah, exactly. So I love the ShamWow. I think it's I love the way that it absorbs. But the reality is that I take my car to the car wash. I can't use it, but thank you for your time. And so this is an opportunity, and I was just joking, but it's an opportunity that what winds up happening for us when we feel like we're being sold to, is that we have the shield.
Yeah.
And this shield, even though I'm doing this with my hands, the reality is the shield is to our heart.
Right.
The heart begins to close, and we close ourselves off.
Mm-hmm.
And so what winds up happening is that if we wind up doing that to others, we feel like that's how what others are gonna do to us.
Yeah.
And we hate it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we get to the point where we actually love the enrollment process, and that sales stops being a four-letter word. It stopped being a four-letter word when it became a five-letter word.
Yeah, I was gonna say sales.
But everything changes.
Right.
We begin to have a very different relationships to the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, when somebody becomes a master of enrollment, they're able to truly, truly be there with another human being. And they're able to understand who they are. And they're able to lead that person to commit to what they want through your help.
This is yeah, that's it's so resonating with me what you're saying right now, because when you can take the perspective that you really are helping, I mean, you're here to make a difference, and the only way that you can make a difference with somebody long term is if they actually enroll. And if you can really make that mindset shift that you're just referring to, that you're really helping and you're really serving, and you're really making a difference in these people's lives, I think that's a brilliant first step. I just want to read some of the comments that are coming in when I asked the question, what is your number one biggest challenge for the enrollment conversation? And Angelina said it's getting past the money piece. Claudia said it's closing and locking in the payment. Sandy has said they don't have enough money, or I'm too expensive. Carol is still learning what to charge her clients. Lawrence is getting them from telling me I can't afford it. Michael is having the courage to ask for high dollar amounts. Catherine is transitioning from a free call offer to a sales conversation. Jane's just plain old making the ask. And, it's really, I think, we're definitely seeing some common questions here. But are these some of the kind of questions that you commonly see when people are coming to you asking, how do you become a master of enrollment?
We can predict that these are going to be the questions, because these are very common. This is what we've all experienced, and this is what I experienced when I was learning all this. And that's just really how it works. And so maybe we can just dive into some
Yeah, let's do it. Go for it. Yeah, do you want me to read off, or no, you go right ahead.
I remember a lot of this stuff. So the first thing that I want to is I want to position all of this.
Sure.
So when I started my business, and I was like marketing my services.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really difficult process because it's kind of like you meet somebody and on the first date, you ask them to marry you.
Yeah.
What it felt like to me when I was marketing my business. It was like, okay, I got to get this client. Well, whoa, we haven't even met yet, right? And I'm already trying to get a client. And that's what it was in my mind.
Yeah.
When I went to this speaking gig, and I remember it as it was yesterday because it was at Fort Mason, San Francisco, and this gentleman by the name of Michael Charest.
Mm-hmm.
He said something that like had me stop in my tracks, and he basically said, stop marketing to get clients and start marketing to get conversations.
Mm.
And I thought, oh my God, like everything inside of me relaxed immediately. It was like, I don't need to try to get clients. I just need to meet people. I need to speak. I need to do all these things. And the end result of all of my marketing needs to be a conversation.
Yeah.
And then what happens in that conversation gets to determine whether that person is going to become my client or not. Right? So right away, that became so much easier for me to sort of wrap my head around it. And then the idea was, okay, all right, great. So now, if I can get 10 consultations in 1 month, if I can just do that, I'm going to get a lot of clients. Because that was my thinking, right? I need, let me do all this marketing. And so I was figuring out all kinds of things. For 6 months, I was figuring out how to do that. And then the first month that I was able to get 10 consultations.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I love that. Stop marketing to get clients, start marketing to get conversations. That changes everything.
Yeah, it does. Except that was only one piece of the puzzle.
Sure.
Because
right.
in my mind, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is going to be it. And then I do that, and then I realized, whoa, so I had these 10 conversations all 1 month, but 0 people hired me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very, very dejected. I was disappointed, and and then from that, like angst, and I'm telling you, it was a lot of angst from me.
Sure.
Came the realization, wait a minute, there's an art form to sales, and I need to learn everything I can about sales because that skill is simply a skill I don't have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I thought, great, let me do everything I can to learn sales, and I went all out.
Mm-hmm.
We hired a sales coach, bought books, bought program, and there wasn't a lot of, a lot of things for coaches back then, right? And so I thought, okay, this is going to work. Like this is going to work. But it didn't work.
Yeah. And this is I think I want to check in with you who is listening. Have you ever gotten a good technique and you implemented it and it didn't work the first time? And so just if you can relate to that, just write the word yes in the questions box there, because that certainly happened to me. So I assume you're going to tell us that there's a little bit more to the story.
Well, but the problem is that the technique didn't work for me.
Yeah.
The technique was a sales technique.
Right.
The technique was like, how do we close the sale? What is it that we need to do to convince, to cajole, to influence? Like influence was like a nice word. Like how do we influence that person to say yes? And like none of that ever felt right because it was all about me. And when I realized that no matter what I do, as long as I think of it as like traditional sales, it's not going to work.
Right.
So what do I need to do? What kind of system do I need to create for myself that allowed me to, for it to be client focused and not focused? And the fact that I get a client out of it is a bonus. But what I'm really trying to do in that conversation is help the other person get the ultimate clarity about what they want.
Great. I love it.
And then get up level their desire for that which they already want, and then create the commitment in them to go for what they want. Like think of it, like most people, if they're not clear on what they want, they're not going to want to go and get it, right? Because they're not clear on it. Now, if their desire is like a 5 out of 10, well, what's going to happen? They're not going to get off their ass to do anything about it, right? Like the desire actually needs to be higher for us human beings to actually do something about it, right? But the desire is not enough. The next level is like, okay, I am committed to doing that. Right?
So it was help the people to get ultimate clarity on what they want, and then there was another step before the motivation. What was the second step?
Increase the desire for what they want.
Increase the desire. Great.
For what they already want. Like, we're not manufacturing a desire that they don't already have. We're getting them in touch with a desire where they can actually feel how much they want. Right?
Got it.
And then it's important to be able to up-level their commitment, because the reality is the reason why most people don't have what they want is they're not committed to getting it.
Right.
So now all of these things are for them. Right? This is something that every single person needs to do in order to be able to achieve whatever it is that they want. Right? So the next step is, well, if they're feeling all those things, well, then you are now in the position to help them get it. So the way that I describe it, it's like, here's what they want, here's where they are now, and you have a boat that takes them from one place to the next.
Love it.
They want to get here, they don't want to be here, and they see you as having an amazing vehicle to help them get there, and you are the captain of this boat, and you've done this route before. They're that much more likely to say yes to you, right? So awesome. The first thing that eliminates objections, right? Like, lots of people are telling me, this person has said this, and this person said that, and this person said this. Well, the number one thing that you can do to eliminate any of those objections for even coming up is to be able to create this process that gets somebody to go, yes, I want it. Yes, it's a 10 out of 10 for my desire. Yes, no matter what, I'm going to go and do something about this. Like if that person is saying that about them finding their soulmate, for example, and you are the person that helps them find the soulmate, I think the odds of them wanting your services skyrocket.
Yeah, I love it, and I've been taking notes as you're talking and putting it in the chat bar. So I love that. The first thing that eliminates objections, or the biggest thing that eliminates objections, and really you're eliminating the objections before they're coming up, not after, is to get those people completely clear on what they want and totally committed to getting what they want for themselves. And the beautiful part about that is there is no manipulation there. There's no salesy kind of, the salesy sleaze that's normally associated with the sales process. And you're really just helping people get super crystal clear on what they want. And a lot of people can benefit from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. What's next?
Cool. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing, in the way that I teach my Master of Enrollment system, is that most people want to maybe ask a couple of questions, tell them, like, here's how my service works, here it is, do you want to do this? And they want to get to that yes as fast as possible. And in the way that I teach it, you want to get to the yes as slow as possible.
Well, that's interesting.
Because what you want is a client who is absolutely certain they want to work with you. They're raring to go. They're committed. They have no reasons why they wouldn't want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
They're like there, right?
Mm-hmm.
What winds up happening is that, and this was like a huge kind of realization for me. So I would get this client, I would have a conversation with them. They're like, oh my God, you are the answer to my prayers.
Yeah.
They would say this to me.
Wow.
And I'd be like, awesome, here's a great client. They would say yes to me, and then they would disappear. Or they would say yes to me, pay for, a deposit, and then I never hear from them again. Or they would just do one session and all these things. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Am I really bad at my service? But all of my clients who were loving me were like, no, you're good. Like, don't doubt yourself. Then I realized is that if in the process of enrolling somebody, I'm not active in is in getting out of them every possible reason why they might not want to work with you or they can't work with you, and then working with them on that, then people are even coming into the process of working with me not fully sold, having all kinds of little gremlins in the back of their mind telling them, oh, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Right? And
and I want to check in here with everybody because I have a sneaking suspicion people can relate to this. Have you ever had an enrollment conversation with a prospective customer, someone who seemed like they were perfect? On the phone, they said, I'm in, this is amazing, only to have them disappear. If you can relate to that, if you've ever had that happen to you, just go and write the word yes. So if you've ever had somebody that enrollment conversation, it sounded like, oh my gosh, I just got a new client, they're in, and then they just disappear after that. So I want to check in. So go ahead.
Worse. Have you ever been enrolled where in that moment, like somehow you're like sky high, and then you like hang up the phone or you get home and you're like, man, what did I just do? Right? And that happens when there's objections that are unconscious that are happening somewhere inside. Right? So the idea in the process that I teach is that you want to elicit objections from them. You want to get every possible reason why they may not want to start working together with you right now. They don't have enough money. I'm not sure I have the time. Like any of those kind of things, it could be whatever it is. I haven't been able to, I need to talk to my husband, wife, business partner, whoever it is.
Sure.
All of the things that people say are objections. Well, what if I told you they're not the real objections?
Interesting.
Those are just the easy things to say. Like nobody, like if you're trying to sell to me, I'm a nice guy, Bret. I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
I'm never going to tell you, hey, Bret, actually, I don't trust anything that you've got going on over there. So that's why I'm saying no.
Right. Right. And that happens all the time.
Yeah. I'm not going to think, well, yeah, I see that Bret has all these examples, but they don't feel like, well, like those people can do it, but I'm not sure that'll work for me.
Right.
Like they might not want to say that, or the one that they really will not want to say, and is usually the biggest objection of them all, I'm not sure I can do it.
Yeah.
Like, Bret, you've got going on is amazing.
Right.
And the fact that it's amazing now is really having me confront the fact that I'm not confident in myself. I'm not sure that I can do it. I'm not sure I have the intelligence. I'm not sure I have the chutzpah. I'm not sure I have the grit. I'm not sure I have the stick-to-itiveness. I'm not sure. Whatever the doubts that I have about myself are always going to get in the way of you getting a client.
Yeah, that's really great, and I think it helps some of us entrepreneurs take the pressure off ourselves a lot of times, you may have an amazing offer, you've got an amazing program, you really care, you're going to work really hard for your people, and the reality is that it's not your program, it's what the self-doubt that's happening inside the other person. And the challenge is that they're not voicing it in normal sales conversations, and so we have to do something different.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really important thing. And the eliciting the objections, you get the outer layer, which is like all of the, the typical reasons.
Right.
And then on the lower, sort of deeper layer of it, all of the other objections. And when you can get to those, you are now creating a real relationship with that person. And when you're creating a real relationship with that person, the reality is that real relationships are not that common in our society. It is absolutely sad, but it is absolutely true, right? And so in being able to create that kind of real relationship, everything is possible as a result. Here's something that I may say to somebody. If I'm like noticing that it's their confidence, I would say, so if you, let's pretend that my program or my package or what I'm doing is the perfect solution for that situation. Let's just pretend that that's what it is. If that was the case, and let's pretend you've got all the money in the world to invest in it, money is not an issue. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your belief level that you can get it to work to get these results?
And is this a hypothetical question?
It's a hypothetical question. I mean, you could play along with me if you like.
Yeah, sure. So it sounds like then that takes away all of the other objections that would be about, is it don't have enough time, don't have enough money, don't have, got to talk to my spouse, is okay, let's say I got those bases covered. Now, do I think I can do it? Yes, right. I think I can do it. With your leadership, I'll follow you. You just tell me what to do. Yes, I think I can do it.
Awesome. But the reality is most people are not in that situation.
True.
Most people, that the reason why they don't have what they really want is because they're not confident that they can get it.
Right.
It's difficult for them. Otherwise, they've gotten there already. Right. So there's all kinds of, so like the perfect client for you is also the most difficult client to get.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
Right. Because they've been hurt by this before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by that, I don't mean like they've got like swindled. I mean, they've tried it.
They tried it and they failed. They fell down. It didn't work, and it cost them, and it cost them money, time, ego. It cost them a lot. And we've all fallen down before. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's hard to get back up.
Yeah, exactly. And so in being able to have that real conversation with them, talk about it, and really get to the bottom of every nook and cranny of why they believe that this is going to be difficult for them is an important part of eliciting that objection. And it's an important part of really creating that connection. And then it's an incredible opportunity to be able to say, well, I'm really glad that we're having this discussion.
So I want to check in with you at home to see where you can, who's tuning in, to see where you can relate to this. What are some of the deeper objections that you've gotten through your sales conversations, through those enrollment conversations? So the ones that didn't come up at first. So for example, like we were just talking about, the self-doubt kind of objections, where maybe somebody would have said, oh, I don't have the time for this. But the reality is they were thinking deep down, you know what? I don't know that I could do it. Or the self-worth kind of objections. Go ahead and go into the control panel questions box there and just type in, what are some of those deeper objections that you've had in some of those sales conversations, or if they didn't ever come up, what do you suspect they were? Go ahead and share that with us so we can take a look. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, so I was enthralled by all of the comments.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing some come in, like Chris mentioned fear. That's a huge one, huge one. You know, and there's all kinds of fear. He also mentions permission. Lisa mentioned self-worth. I'm not worth the money. You know, could I
Yeah.
even charge $6,000 for a program because I'm not worth it? That's a big one for sure.
By the
Yeah.
way, that's the other objection.
Yeah.
That's your own objection to being hired.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, true.
It's an important thing. It's like whatever self-talk that you have in your own mind about the relationship that you're about to create with a client is, in fact, the energy that's being projected on them that they can feel.
Yeah.
Right? So, like if your own thing, oh my God, that person is going to say no. Well, they're feeling it. Oh my God, I'm not sure. I'm about to quote my fees and I'm not sure this is worth it, right? Like every one of those is really coming through. And we can have like the most stoic poker face in the world. But the reality, the energetics really, really come through. And so for me, this was an interesting process where as I was learning to do these conversations, these consultations, I thought of them as meditation.
Oh, I like that.
You know, like when you're meditating, and depending on what kind of meditation, you know, for me, I like to concentrate on my breath, right? So whenever a thought comes, oh yeah, thought, okay, bring myself back to the breath. Well, same thing in a consultation. Whenever my thought went inward, meaning about me, about my situation, about how it affects me, it's like, oh yeah, there's that thought, let it go, and bring my attention back to the person.
I really like that analogy of meditation because you made a really important distinction just a moment ago when I asked for everybody to come in with the deeper objections that the clients get. Some people came in with the client's objections. Some people came in with our own self-talk objections. And it's a very important distinction. Those are two different ones, and I really like the meditation because that can help us take care of ourselves, which is ultimately going to help us take care of the clients. I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And I see Debbie has a really interesting objection, was taking money away from my family for myself. Right?
Wow, that's a big one. Yeah.
It's a big one, and it's a really interesting thing. And for me, like when I can get to an objection that's so soulful and so deep like that, it's such a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
And the reality is that any person who has that objection, it means that they've put themselves last in all of the most important areas of their life.
Right.
And so by being able to get to that and see with them the cost of that, like what's the cost on your children for putting yourself last?
Right.
Or like you think it's a benefit to your children. No, they're learning how to put themselves last too.
Right. Yeah, you're leading by example for sure.
Yeah. So any objection that somebody has is an opportunity for transformation. And that's the reason why I love this process so much, because it's like, yes, you're going to get a client out of it, but the most important thing is that you're going to be able to actually make a difference in someone's life.
Yeah.
Because you're having an enrollment conversation.
Right.
That's like the craziest thing, like that the most transformation you can possibly deliver happens in the process of you selling your services.
Yeah. Wow. I never looked at it that way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
And think of it this way. So, you know, there were a couple of questions about pricing and, you know, can I really charge this much? Well, think of it this way, that if you're charging $1,000, somebody's making $1,000 decision.
Yep.
If you're charging $10,000, somebody's making a $10,000 decision. If you're charging $50,000, somebody's making a $50,000 decision. The bigger the decision, the bigger the objections, the bigger the transformation. Right? If
Yeah.
you tell me that, hey, do you want like something for free?
Right.
I might say yes, but I'm not going to value it.
Sure.
It didn't take anything inside of me. I didn't transform in any way because the decision was instant and it wasn't, I didn't have to do anything for it. But if you told me, Bret, that you're going to charge me $50,000 for something,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big decision. And in the process of making that decision, my life changes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that happen, and I think it was our friend Mike Koenigs who said to me recently, the more people pay, the more they pay attention to what you were meaning. Like when somebody's making that bigger $50,000 decision, they're going to come all in. They're going to work really hard to make sure that they get the transformation that they are paying for. So I agree with that. I've seen that. I've seen major transformations happen that way. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's next?
What's next? Let's see. So I want to talk about money.
Yeah.
So it's really important that whenever somebody has a money objection, that you get at it first.
Mm-hmm.
People are embarrassed.
Yeah, sure.
People have a tremendous amount of shame around money, around having it, not having it, all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you can put people at ease, the more that you can say, well, and this is something I've actually said, about 50% of people that wind up hiring me initially tell me that they don't have the money to pay for my service.
Right.
So you're doing a couple of things. One, you're creating some social proof that this is something that's that these people still wind up being clients, right? But the second thing is that you're normalizing this.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is for somebody to feel guilty. What's wrong with me that I can't even do this?
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah, I really like that acknowledgement that that is normal, and a lot of people go through that. Yeah, no, I like that a lot, and I like that allowing people saying that in that conversation is really going to give people a lot of freedom to make the decision of actually investing in themselves for that transformation. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And so the next thing that's really important is to be able to separate the money from everything else.
Mm.
So what I would do is let's put money aside and elicit any other objection. Like if it wasn't for the money, is there anything? And sometimes I ask that question 3 or 4 times. Like, is there anything else? How about this? Is there this? Do you believe? Like whatever it is that I need to elicit, that once all of those are taken care of and you go back to the money, 30, 40, 50% of the time, the money objection disappears.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
It's a shocking thing, right? And then if the money is still an objection, then you work at it. You figure out if there's a ways to create a different payment plan. If you can stretch out the payment plan, if you can do anything that would make it easier for them to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
And what winds up happening, I'll give you an example. I had one of my clients, she just went from $5,000 to $7,000 packages for 3 months.
So her packages that she's selling
Yeah, she's
Originally they
selling.
were 5,000. She stepped it up, and now they're 7,000.
Originally, they were $100 a session,
Oh
but
wow, big step.
yeah. So, but she now went from 5 to 7, and for her, it was like, oh my God, feels like a really big step.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Even though it's a 3-month package, what if you made it really simple for somebody? They do a deposit, and you stretch out the payments over 7 months, even though you're only going to work together for 3. You're developing an awesome relationship. You're doing all these things. Why not do that? And she's like, I can do that? For business, you can do anything you want.
Sure.
And so the first 3 people that she spoke to said yes to her at 7,000.
Wow.
And she only needed to stretch out the payments once, right? But the
Wow.
reality is that you can work with people on the money.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Right.
Like, where else can you get it?
Right.
Yeah. It's not as big of an issue as we make it out to be. Yes, there's people that there's nothing, their credit cards are maxed out. They've got $100 left in their checking account. There might not be anything that you can do.
Right.
And even then, in those situations, there's uncles and cousins and parents and all kinds of places that if they believe this is something that's truly important to them, they'll go and get it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I would love to hear from you. What are some of the toughest objections that you get out there? What are some of so just go to the questions box and tell us, what are some of the toughest objections that you get that you could use a little help figuring out how to have the conversation with the client? Lee had a really good one here. Client, you're reading that one because she says, client says my situation is different than everyone else's. So if you've been in business any amount of time, you'll have somebody who says this to you. I'm different than everybody else. My problem is worse than anybody else, and I'm just not up to the task of getting to a solution. So what advice would you give to Lee there, Bill?
First, I'll tell you a situation where this exact thing happened to me.
Yeah.
Where the person came out and like we had a great conversation, and like when it came down, she basically said like, man, I'm gonna be your worst client. I don't think it's gonna work for me. This is just gonna be awful. And I was like, you know what? I need to do something radical to break through this. And I said to this person, yeah, I think you're right. I've had a lot of experience, and just basically judging by your personality, what's happening, I really think that you should just give up, and this is never going to happen for you. And at least I'm glad that you and I got a chance to have a conversation. But yeah, I believe you. The person was like, I mean, we were on the phone, but I could feel like on the other side. Well, I said, well, when I said that, how did it make you feel? And the person said, indignant. No,
Yeah.
you're wrong. And I was like, yeah, exactly. I am wrong. Right? And so I'm just saying, like, anytime you get situations like that, you have 2 choices, right? You can go in the opposite direction by like agreeing with them, or you can normalize it and, say that lots of people feel exactly the same way. And let me even give you a story of that. And then, talk about like the ways that your service is designed specific for those folks.
That was brilliant. Yeah, I love that because most of us or many of us have had that kind of an objection, the same that Lee had, and I love that, turning it around on the client and just saying, yeah, I believe you. You're not up to the task, and then just wait and see how they react. Letting them know how, you know what, the reality is you can do it. You really can do it. And now that you've heard me say that you couldn't, you realize how silly that really was. And the reality is that you can do it. I love that turnaround. Let's take a look at, let's see, Marianne has a good one. Oh, go ahead.
Marianne's, exactly. I've tried to be a coach before and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good one.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've tried many things with many people that didn't work. That doesn't mean like the entirety of that. Like, try going to a restaurant and ordering a hamburger, but that hamburger sucks. That means I'm never going to go to a restaurant ever again to order a hamburger in my life.
Right. Good analogy.
And so there's lots of different things that you can do in that situation, Marianne. And this is just the way that I design, because this isn't about the enrollment piece. This is about the designing of your service. I design my programs to be able to answer this question of like, this is the last time you're ever going to need to do this again.
Yeah.
Like, how do I need to design my program, my service, my coaching, whatever it is, so that the person who it didn't work for on 5 other occasions, this is going to be the last stop for them. And if I design my service with that in mind, when somebody like with Marianne says that, I've tried other coaches, it didn't work for me, and I can honestly look at them in the face and say, perfect. Because lots of people come to me in exactly that same situation, and this is their last stop. And let me explain to you why.
I love that. That is brilliant. So in this program, you know, if it's not worked out for you before, and you don't have all the money you believe you should have and the business you believe you should have, this is the last time you're ever going to say that, because we're going to change that now. And I feel that a lot of people, they need to know, they need to hear that from you, because that's a validation that you have the confidence that you know what you're doing. You know, they can follow you as the leader who's going to get them to the destination that they want. Now, let me just spin that one around just for a second here. What do you say to the entrepreneur that doesn't have their own internal confidence yet at this point? What advice would you give them if they feel like, gosh, can I actually deliver on this promise?
Yeah, so I want to talk about confidence in 2 directions.
Sure.
So the first direction is internal self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
It allows me to feel okay with myself no matter what.
Right.
The external circumstance is irrelevant.
Right.
I am okay with who I am. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big topic of conversation that we're not going to go into, because it's an entire session on that.
Sure.
But I want to talk about the second piece, which is it's not about confidence, it's about design. It's about intentionality. Have you, like, I'll give you an example. Every week for the first 10 years I was in business, every week I would do, this was a Sunday morning ritual, I would write down, like, I actually open up my calendar and I would look at all of my clients and I would remember all of the sessions that I had with them, and I would ask myself the question, what could I have done there to be better at helping them get the result? What could I have done here to be better at helping them get the results? Not create a better experience, not any of those things, but everything was from a lens of helping people get results. And we did that over and over and over and over again for years. And what winds up happening is that I got better and better at designing my service in such a way that my clients got better results. It had nothing to do with my inner game. It had nothing to do with esteem. It had to do with the intentionality of being better every week than the week before, and designing and redesigning how I work with my clients.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that. So just going through every time you're working with a customer, looking back of how can I improve, how can I improve, how can I improve, and the results that your customers are going to get are going to start speaking for themselves, and that's going to give you that additional confidence. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
So we're about 8 minutes out here to the end. What are and I know you have a free gift about transforming client objections. Can you just tell us a little bit about this download and what people can expect?
Yeah, I wrote a little report on called Transforming Client Objections: How to Confidently Handle the Top 5 Reasons Clients Say No. And it's at no cost to you, and you can get it at billbarron.com /.
And let me, oh yeah, / well here, I'm gonna give people the link here in just a second, but do me a favor, if you've gotten value so far out of this session, write the word value. If you learned something that is going to help you with your next client conversation, write the word value. If you learned something that's going to help you with your own inner game, write the word value. If you learned something that's going to help you handle some additional objection, whether it's a surface level objection or a deeper level objection, write the word value over there on the in the questions box there. We got Debbie says value, Claudia says value, Michael, Marianne, value, value, value. Marissa says value. Chelsea says value. You guys are awesome. Okay, so and I'm going to give you the link here, but we're going to do something special. So those of you who have been on calls with me before, you'll know that I'm going to kind of double the value in this case. Let me show you what we're going to do. So what I have here, you're taking a look right now. You're on my Facebook page here, and I have a post here. So for those of you who come on this program regularly, you know that I teach Facebook ads, and I teach you how to, grow your business with Facebook ads. And I'm running a Facebook ad here for Bill's free gift that he just mentioned. So it's a book called Transforming Client Objections. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this ad to 250,000. We got 258,000 entrepreneurs. And I'm actually going to run the ad to more people than that. It's probably going to be more like 500,000 entrepreneurs. And if you would like to get some visibility, what I want you to do right now, go to my Facebook page. It's facebook.com /like Bret. And go to this particular, you can see that it's pinned to the top. It's the first one there. It's this picture for Bill's Transforming Client Objections. And do me a favor. So there's just 2 quick things I want you to do. Number 1, write what value you learned today. So tell us what value you learned from Bill today. All right, so just go ahead and write in the comments. And then the last most important thing is click the share button. So I'm just going to show you, if you click the share button, you'll get this little drop down here. You have to click share, okay? And then it's going to look like this. It'll share on, you can share it wherever you want, but share it, it should default to your own timeline. Click to your own timeline, said, this is amazing. Just tell us what you learned. And if you do that, what that's going to do is it's going to give you visibility on this particular post that we're going to show to about 500,000 entrepreneurs. 500,000 entrepreneurs in United States and Canada and London and that sort of thing. And so go ahead and write those comments. And if you click the share button, you can see already 260 people have already liked it. But if you click the share button, I'll be able to see that you shared. And when you share, I'm going to be able to write a little comment on your share, which is going to give you even further visibility. So once you do that, that will allow you to get seen by these 500,000 people. Then be sure to just go ahead and click on it. That's going to take you over to this page where you're going to get your copy of Transforming Client Objections. And do you want to just tell us briefly what else they get? Like once they're inside, there's some more really high quality information there, Bill?
Well, yeah, it's what I did today is I went through a few of them But here I go through all of the top 5 reasons and the thinking behind it and examples behind it. So it's a much more comprehensive look at what I've talked about today.
Yeah, and so I've been in there. Once you'll get this great download that's really going to help you. But then once you're inside, Bill goes quite a lot deeper with that information. So you'll get a chance to see, the transforming client objections, conversations that sell, the yes blueprint, and so on. And there's some really, really high quality, amazing information there. And last thing is, Bill, you want to just tell us a little bit about what is the program that this is leading into for you?
Yeah, so this is leading to my program called Master of Enrollment, and it's my entire process of A to Z, from how to get into conversations, like what are the mechanisms that sign people up to actually have those conversations with, to how to set up the conversation so that you are perceived as the expert, what to do to pre-sell the conversation before it even happens, and then everything from start to finish, where absolutely everything that needs to be asked, everything that needs to be said, and that leads to people getting to a yes. This is the way that I think about it. Let's say if you were going like this, right, and you're about to capture something, right? If you do, like, for example, if you don't set up the consultation right, there's a hole right there, and 8 clients out of 100 will fall through. Let's say if you don't pre-sell yourself in a consultation, there's a hole right there, another 12. If you're not able to masterfully deal with objections, that's another 18. Like, the entire process is designed so there's no holes in your enrollment, right? And so that's the way that I look at it, because I want to get better at everything that I do. And for years, I had this program, and every year I would say, okay, I'm going to make it 30% better than the year before. Well, the last 2 years, I haven't been able to do anything, because it's actually, like, it has no holes at this point.
Yeah, and so for those of you who are out there, I've known Bill for a long time, and you have my full endorsement. I mean, every single time I talk to you, I'm totally enlightened. You're so good at what you do. And I was taking furious notes. I posted all my notes in the questions box there, so you guys could see what the notes are. So I really strongly encourage you to take this opportunity to jump in and download the free gift. And I'm just going to share my screen one last time so you guys can see this. Go to the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/like Bret, and then go ahead and in the comments, write in the comments what you learned today. And so you can see here's the folks who have jumped in so far. CC Converse had some great comments. This was awesome. Claudia Thompson Fixer. Hey, Michael, Marianne, Sandy, Jane, Uchi, did I pronounce that right? Uki, I'm sorry, I totally butchered that. And then for those of you who clicked the share button here, I'm just going to click the share button. So those of you who click the share button, you're going to get additional visibility. So be sure that, and you can see here, I can tell exactly who clicks the share button, and I'm going to go back through because we're out of time now. I'm going to go back through and make a comment, and when I do that, that gets you even additional visibility. So for those of you who have done this, thank you. And be sure, click here, opt in, and get your book, Transforming Client Objections. And then on the inside, you're going to get some amazing information. So Bill, thank you so much for sharing your just amazing information with us, as always, and really appreciate you coming by today. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this, so I'm glad I got the opportunity to do my thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For everybody else who's on here, we'll see you again next Tuesday, as always, and come with your questions, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and do some serious, awesome Facebook marketing. We'll see you then.
Yeah, thank you.